Can you hear me okay though?
Yes.
Okay. Speaking of yes, they're still going. Did you know that?
Yes,
All
it's
right, it
still
says
going.
yes, we are live, it looks like. Yeah, I got two people showing up already. Two people here. Good afternoon, everybody. You are tuned in to ProgHat Live with my special guest. Thank you for being here. We might have hopefully we won't have too many technical difficulties. But I'm here with my brother, who looks very young. As always, my brother Chris is with me. So, hello out there and
Hey.
welcome. We'll probably give it a few minutes because looks like a couple of people were here and drop off. But yeah, let's kind of let's talk about that. I got a Steven. Hello, Steven. Hello, AZ Mick. Welcome. I got my bro with me. That's my special guest. You know, there's a few things I wanted to talk about. We're just going to basically talk about the music, how we got into music, what were some of the first songs we heard, um, and basically how we got into music, how we got to that one period, as we were just talking about a little bit a while ago about how the art of guitar playing. Another art that I see, in my opinion, that I hope doesn't become a lost art is the art of playing the piano.
Oh,
Um,
most definitely. I wish I could play
the
the
art of
piano.
playing the piano. I hope a lot of these great piano musicians, jazz, classical, are passing away. So I hope that doesn't ever get away. So hello, Stephen. Hello, AZ. Hello, Ambi. Welcome. I'm here with my brother, my special guest here, but I'm gonna let my brother go, and I think we kind of want to ask each other questions, and we're gonna go on for about an hour today because after a while, I get a sciatic. What is it called? Sciatic pain for sitting too
Sciatica.
long, and it starts to bother me, and I got to get up and move around. Yeah, that's my bro. We're twins. No, I'm just kidding. But welcome everybody. I'm glad you're here. But go ahead, my brother. Start us off. You got a question you want to ask me, maybe, and then I'll turn around and ask you some question. But that's basically what we're going to talk about. It's music,
Yeah,
how we
yeah,
got into it, how we got into
yeah.
guitar playing, what led us to down the roads that we have taken. But go ahead.
Well, I remember being very young, of course, I mean, we was born in Austin, but when we were living in Houston with our mother, she would play the stereo loud in the car. That's where I got it from. And she would play, I mean, the bands back then, Lou Rawls, 10cc, Minnie Rippleton, Marvin Gaye, Al Green, Isaac Hayes, Joe Cocker, America, Freddie Fender, War, Curtis Mayfield, Jim Croce, Tijuana Brass, Fleetwood Mac, Kool and the Gang, Commodores, Neil Diamond, Rolls Royce, Doobie Brothers, Bobby Womack. We were introduced to all those styles of music. We were very cultural. We
Yes.
we grew up in a place where there was Hispanics, blacks, whites, you name it. We all had all the same music. We'd listen to the radio station and they played this gigantic variety of music. There wasn't like, this is the rock channel, this is the blues channel, it was all together. It was like a melting pot and we just couldn't get enough of it. And don't forget Casey and the Sunshine Band. I remember hearing them a lot. So we got
Yep.
blasted with a lot of music at young age. And as later time
Yeah,
went
we
on, of
did.
course, we started going to different eras, and you started showing me music that really wasn't on the radio because back then on the radio, songs had to be 2.5 minutes long. They weren't playing the
That's true.
5 minute songs, the 7 minute songs like Led Zeppelin or Freebird or Jimi Hendrix. That was just too over the top. If it was an ACDC song, oh, you got to go to KLBJ FM. You just can't hear that. You know what I mean? That's just like, you know what I mean? Way over the top. Everything was pretty much folk, soft rock, hard rock, soul, and blues. But it was
And
all
you know
great
what?
music.
Yeah, it was. And I agree with you. I remember that radio station, especially the ones in Houston. There wasn't really one radio station that was playing a specific genre, but I remember our mom, and I would wake up in the middle of the night and she still had the stereo on and it was playing like R&B stuff, some really good. He had the Gladys Knight and the Pips. You had Lou Ross. You had that. What did they call that? That International Philadelphia Soul record label. You remember
Psychedelic
that with the
funk.
I?
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
No,
yeah, yeah.
but that record label. Yeah, and there was just what was that one song you used to always like to hear on the radio? When will I see you again? It was
Oh
like
yeah.
around in that area where this should be way before I got into like anything like jazz or prog rock or or even world music. I even like world music. I think there's a lot of prog bands that introduce world type music into the music that kind of had me going through that door as well. But I just remember enjoying hearing the radio late at night with mom just leaving it playing, and and there was hardly any commercial interruptions. That's what I loved about it. It was like a song right after a song and right after a song, and maybe you get to hear the DJ, but you would hear like mom was really into like Isaac Hayes. Uh, what was that gentleman's name? The one that sang "Me and Mrs. Jones." She had that album. I remember
I
Paul,
think that was.
Billy
I know
Paul,
exactly who you're talking about. Uh,
and we used to,
I know exactly who you're talking about.
and she had that record, which is really a good record. But every time I find that record, it's like, excuse me, what I'm about to say. It's like beat to hell. I
Yeah.
mean, that record must have got played a lot. Whoever, people that owned it, and I try to look for some Isaac Hay albums, and if you are, it's like anything. If you're gonna want a really good copy of those kind of records, then get ready to pay the price for them because they're not gonna be very cheap. But you
And
know,
and you can hang it up if you're trying to find an original. You can. They're not giving those away. You just might as well forget asking for that
I
one.
hardly ever see those records. I think the best thing that you're going to experience seeing those or finding those if you go to the Austin Record Show, which I've been going since, man, what, 77, 76. I have been going to that for, and not off and on though. For a while there, if you remember, I would get up real early and go meet a friend down there and go down to the record show and come back with like, you know, it was it was different back in that era because everything was so rare and everything was so expensive. So not like it is now, where everything now, if you notice now, Beatle albums are accessible now. They're not hard to find anymore. People are giving those up. Rolling Stones, all those things that were really hard to afford to buy at a record show back in the late or mid 70s, you can pretty much find those now. You can go to eBay, you can go to Discogs, which I got a love hate relationship with that Discogs. A lot of people are just not very honest, but that's a different thing. But anyway, about the condition of the records. And then anyway, but back then things were like really hard to find. Like if you wanted a mono copy of some Rolling Stone album, you were going to pay like $60 for it. But now you can get them for like $20, sometimes under $20. So what I mean now, since everything is reissued on vinyl, and you got these deluxe editions kicking in, so the market went down on those at one time really, really rare records. I remember seeing what do you call it? Bootleg shows of Led Zeppelin, and yes, those things were like 300 or 400 bucks, and they used to be on the walls. The dealers that would sell them, and it was like, there's no way that at that time I could get any of those. But
Were they
I
made in
don't know. Did you ever?
Japan?
What was that?
Were the bootleg albums coming from Japan? Some of them I kind of recall that some of them were.
Some of them might have been coming from Japan, but usually they had those Opie stickers on there that said that Japanese writing. The early Japanese
Yeah.
pressing ones, they're the ones that are the ones that usually people are looking for. I mean, they go through a deal. They're like even later. There's like even later pressings of Japanese albums that they're good, but the most sought off after is the early ones. Like I remember seeing the Paul McCartney ones, like Band on the Run album. Even the You remember that album Wings Wildlife? That was so good. I remember we used to listen to that record. You remember us listening to Wings Wildlife? The album
You'd
where
have
they
to
were like
refresh
sitting on a
my memory. With
let me
what
see here.
again?
Let me try to grab a copy of it. Oh yeah, let me fix us here. Let me fix the way we look so we can look a little bit more
Oh, there we go.
or did it do it?
Yeah, I can see.
So did it change our layout? I'm
Yeah,
getting a
it
little
did.
bit of lag. Okay. I'm getting a little bit of lag, which I was kind of hoping that wouldn't happen, but I'm trying to
Oh,
find
that's my fault. I had a Bud Light in my hand.
okay. Do you remember that? Wings
Oh
Wildlife.
yeah, yeah. Oh, I remember that. Yeah, I remember it now.
This was a record, and I kind of remember you used to like that song Wildlife because it was real long, bluesy, had that kind of that really kind of I don't know how to describe the guitar playing, but it was really, really good. I remember we were listening to this record one day as we were cleaning the house up for mom. I put on Wings Wildlife. I think I put a couple of Paul McCartney on as we were as you and then you made your famous French fries.
Did I get the third degree on that one when Mom came home?
No, as long as we kept the place clean, we were good to go. Hello, Miss You. Welcome. Folks, if you're just tuning in, we appreciate being here. My special guest is my brother. He is in the other panel, and we are practicing social distancing. So I think we're getting a little bit of some lag here. So uh, we'll continue to go, and we're going to go for about an hour here. We're just talking about old stories, music, but yes, this is
You know, you know what I thought
yeah.
was
I'm getting
fun? Do you remember those weekends and our parents would just drive randomly to wherever they were going. We had no idea where we were going. It'd be a Saturday morning, and we could not wait to listen to K98 for 3 hours from the top 40 all the way up to number one. And it was like really super cool. And I didn't realize that Casey Kasem was the voice of Shaggy on Scooby Doo.
yeah. You know, speaking of Casey Kasem, I have a lot of memories of kicking back on Sunday mornings and listen to the top 40.
Hmm.
And
And I
and
forgot
I
what
used to
song there
like
was.
I'm out, I would listen to the whole show, and that's where I heard some more music. I remember the time when the Knack put out that song My Sharona, and at that time to me that was the only real rock and roll song in the top 40. Everything else was either kind of disco, I think
Yeah.
maybe some new wave, there was some country, crossover country where it's real popish and it can go, on both sides of the charts. It can be played on country like Anne Murray, and it can
Oh,
also be
yeah,
played
yeah.
on pop radio. And heck, I even remember that song by Neil Diamond and Barbara Streisand that had a big hit that got played on country radio too. You Don't Bring Me Flowers Anymore. Remember that song?
Yeah. And it's funny that you mentioned like Anne Murray because I remember the song I Cried a Tear, but it was so different. I didn't know that she was a country singer. She just could
Neither did
transition
I.
very smoothly back and forth. And just like Neil Diamond and like Neil Young had that one song, Searching for a Heart of Gold. I'm like, how did you go from that to this commercial song? It's like really good. I didn't know that was you.
Exactly. And you know what? Speaking of that song, that was one of my favorite songs. You know how mom would take us out to get a late night snack. I remember that song always coming on the radio late night. A Heart of Gold. Do you remember that?
It was yeah, it was a great song. It was a great song.
It's
And
still a great song. In fact, I want Neil just to play the songs. I don't want to hear his other malarkey.
And I think some of the first rock songs we actually heard were like Just Between Me and You on the radio by April Wine and Foreigner. The early
Yeah.
Foreigners, like, who is that? That rock was, and then don't forget that guy. What's that guy's name? Billy stroke me, Billy Squire, something
Oh,
like
oh,
that.
Billy Squire.
Yeah,
Did you
those
know
were
that
like.
song? Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Go ahead, finish.
Now, I was going to say, you know that song, Billy Squire? I watched a documentary about him. Did you know that song comes from some kind of a blues song he was working on, or he had this? The song really comes from the like a blues style of music, and then it turns into
Mm.
that rock song. It's like I did not know that, but anyway, it was a good song. I remember getting for Christmas. Do you remember those double albums that had like various artists, but they were really good rock songs at the time? Remember there was a Explosion 1 and 2. Do you remember those? Somebody
What
gave
kind of
one
music
me
was on?
one of those when I was a kid. Let me see here. Somebody gifted those to me not too long ago. Let me try to see, but I think if I show the cover, one of them had Judas Priest on there. I
Oh
was
my
like, that is
goodness.
so cool. But yeah, you remember these?
Oh yeah,
These
yeah.
were
Kind of
good.
like a.
These were good because you get a lot of different artists, and they were fun to listen to. Like you remember Whitford and St. Holmes band, the guy from the guitar player from Aerosmith, and the other guy from St. Holmes, who was the lead singer on the first few of the Ted Nugent albums. That was his voice. I used to think it was Ted Nugent, which he does sing, but it was really the guy St. Holmes. But do you kind of remember these? These were like
Yeah, I
fun to
kind of
listen
vaguely.
to. So,
I kind of. It's like a compilation of a bunch of stuff on there.
yeah, really,
You
really,
know what?
really good. I remember somebody giving me those for Christmas, and when we were kids. But go ahead. You're
You
going to
know
say you
my
were going to say
favorite
something.
live. My favorite live album was, believe it or not, was
What was
Peter
it?
Frampton Comes Alive. I just that one that Do You Feel Like I Do? And it come on late at night on KLBJ around 10 o'clock, and all of a sudden it's like, oh, here comes the bad people's music, you know. And I was like,
Right,
man,
right.
I'm at church on a summer camp thing, and in the middle of the night I'm listening to "Do You Feel Like I Do?" And I was like, this guitar is just so raw and it's so uncut, but it's so perfect and wild, and the whole thing is just great. And you're kind of going, like when you were talking about your top 10 American rock bands. I mean, I like Leonard Skinner. I consider Jimi Hendrix from America. Boston, I thought was great. ZZ Top, Buddy Haley in the comments. That guitar player was good, real good.
Oh my goodness. I
Rock around the clock.
remember,
Listen to the speed of that. No distortion, straight up picking. That's tough.
yeah.
That
Or
was
the guitar player that
fantastic.
played on those Ricky Nelson songs and Elvis Presley, James Burton. Oh my goodness, that guy's phenomenal.
He's a
Guitar
legend.
playing.
And a
Yeah.
lot of people don't realize that. What's that band called? Whitesnake. And then they had like Vivian Campbell and some other guy playing guitar. John Sykes on the first album, like all those, in the Still of the Night, he recorded all those songs. He was the studio guy. He's phenomenal. But he never
Yeah.
played the concert. He was
You know
good.
when I first heard, I remember first when I first heard that "Still of the Night" song. Seriously, I thought it was Robert Plant. I did. I was like,
I
"Is that Led Zeppelin?"
It sounded like a Led Zeppelin song, didn't it? It's like you kind of stole something in there.
Yeah.
You kind of stole that. I did too.
Right.
It almost sounded like a little
Were
mixture
you?
of Black Dog, hey, hey, you know what I mean? And
Yeah. Yeah.
it was very good. That's what made it sales, because it gave the audience something to get familiarized with and go, oh, that sounds familiar. And you're like, yeah, because it sounds like Led Zeppelin. That's why you like it.
That's why I gravitate towards it. I remember that, like, when I'm gonna get paid, I said, "I don't care what I have left over from my check, I'm gonna go buy that." And I remember buying it on cassette because that at one point in my life, you remember, I didn't have a turntable for a while. I had a
Hmm.
bunch of records, but I didn't have a turntable. But I did have, yeah, because CDs didn't come on to later. And I remember buying a lot of those albums on cassette. Because, like I said, I didn't have a turntable. I couldn't afford one. I had to give up mine, or I sold mine. I don't remember what the story was. But were
But when
you also thinking about that band? Because you said uh, the band before. White Snake. Were you kind of thinking about that band Vandenberg? Do you remember that guitar player
Oh,
Adrian Vandenberg?
yeah, yeah. Isn't that with isn't that guy on the album too? The guy that plays guitar for Whitesnake was Vivian Campbell and something Vandenberg.
Yep, I believe
He
you are
looks like
correct. You know
he
what?
looks Hispanic. He looks Hispanic or something. But he's really good. I
Oh
can't
my
remember
goodness,
his
the
name.
guy's really good.
Yeah,
Have you
he's
ever
really
listened
good.
to the first Vandenberg album? I've been looking for that. I haven't found that in the wild, but that was a really good. I had that on cassette, and their first record was real good. So
But
it
when
makes
CDs,
sense.
yeah, when
Go ahead.
CDs came out, it wasn't that the CD was expensive, is that the CD player cost a lot of money. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? We didn't have a CD player. That thing we had was a cassette, and going to CD was like, hey, that's a big stretch. And the CDs. I think there might have been like $16 for one, but the CD player was $300. So either I'm going to
Oh,
buy
they were.
$300 in cassettes, or I'm going to buy one CD. I'm going to go with the cassettes.
Yeah, that's what I did. In fact, so I'm such a well, you know this. I'm such a my favorite Beatle is Paul McCartney. I was such a fan of Paul McCartney that I remember buying. I remember buying some CDs and even have a freaking CD player to buy them on.
I
What
know
I
you.
had to do was I had to go to a friend's house who had a CD player and a way to record them, and I would buy some blank cassettes and record the CDs onto blank cassette so I could hear my Paul McCartney. And that was the first time I ever said, "Oh wow, they have a what do you call it? A really good sound." But what I noticed too about the CDs, you could still hear it. You could still hear a little bit of hissing.
Yeah, but because they're
You,
trying to record it from an LP that had a hiss, and you really can't get rid of that hiss, because if you get rid of the hiss, you get rid of the treble, and you start kind of remember that thing called Dolby B and C, and you would put B and it would take off 10 dB of noise, and it gets diminishes worse. It's like a fine line. But if you recorded it brand new in the studio on CD, you don't have that hiss. So when you're trying to copy something to there, you can't avoid it. So now what they'll do is they'll go back to the original master tracks, digitize them, and
right,
do it. But the thing about CD versus cassette and vinyl, CD does not have the Sakaruskis to hold rock and roll, because that vinyl was all hardware, compressors, real equipment, not this virtual, real hardware, real machine. We're talking about tape that was like this thick just for 8 tracks, huge. That tape with that magnet grabs music. That's why that music, you go back and one time I had an 8 track, it was a Led Zeppelin 4, and I plugged in an 8 track player. That thing was so powerful. And then you go plug in the CD, and it's like, this has no guts. Because
right.
even Yngwie Malmsteen, he said that when he went to CD, that he said the CD is digital and it just doesn't hold rock and roll like a cassette or vinyl does. It just doesn't have that. So now these guys, what they'll do is they'll make these compressors and these uh, all these compressors and stuff to push the sound harder and harder, and then they try to add warmth to it to give it live, because it ends up sounding sterile and polished. But now they want it to have oomph and warmth and all of this sound to be, to increase the gain, to give it more power. So even they realize, hey, we got to change this, because people are kind of going, this isn't as powerful as a. That's why vinyl started kicking back up. Like, this sounds awesome.
Yeah, because honestly, vinyl does have a lot better sounds, but they sometimes they get it right on certain CDs. And here's my example: the 1994 box set of the Led Zeppelin albums, the stereo record of all the albums. Those
Yeah.
CDs, they sound really good because I was listening to In Through the Outdoor, and it sounded really good. Now I'm not going to say it was better than vinyl, but what I'm going to say is that for a CD, that box set, it's not a bad sounding uh, box set, and it's now you can get. I remember when it came out, that CD box set was like about over $200. Now they're popping up everywhere used for like 40 bucks. You can even get one for 30 bucks, and it has all the Zeppelin albums. And the one that really sounded good in there too was Presence. I don't think you could ever
Mm.
do anything wrong to Presence unless you're Jimmy Page and you go in 2017 and start remastering the albums again, then you might, you know, I wasn't
That's
too
not good.
impressed.
That's
I
not
was not
good
too
because
impressed with those 2015, 16s, those pressings of those Led Zeppelin albums. I felt like, I don't know, I felt like there was something lost. So what I've been doing is waiting to get as early of a pressing of my Led Zeppelin records again because those really sound good. And if I can find the what was his name, Ludwig, the RL and the wax, those are better sounding pressings. Not if you are getting the remaster, I'm not saying you don't. I'm not saying they're bad. I just I don't know. I wasn't really impressed with them, and I hope 30 years down the road that Jimmy Page doesn't go, oh, I forgot to do something, and then remaster the whole collection again because there's just no
all I
need
gotta
to.
say, all I gotta say, if they ever make a Death Wish 3 or 4, please do not let Jimmy do the soundtrack. That album was awful. Whatever that, like Death Wish 1 or 2, he made that. I didn't understand what was going on. That was terrible. I mean, like, please find somebody else because I think the most, to my opinion, the most well-rounded guitar player in all styles. Super neat, super clean. He picks up a guitar and it's so effort, like me and you walking. I think it's Trevor Rabin. He's just freaking a genius. He is really good.
Oh my goodness, Trevor Rabin, yes. I mean, if you
He
wanted to
doesn't
say a
get the
good,
credit.
hey
He doesn't get the
Jeff,
credit he deserves. He's well-rounded and from South Africa. He knows so many styles. I mean, to go into Yes and play all those parts from Steve Howe and all those songs to memorize and playing the keyboard part too at the same time, it's mind-boggling.
yeah. Let me just say hello out there. Hello, Victor, Zeb, Jeff. Welcome everybody. Yes, this is my brother Chris. And he's joined me today. He's my special guest. We might make this a monthly thing where we team up together and talk music and memories. But when you say, "Wait," I'm going to defend that Death Wish soundtrack. I'm going to tell you
Uh-oh.
why. I like some of the songs that Paul Rogers of Bad Company sings on there. Those are pretty good songs. Now,
He
if
was
you
on there?
recall, yeah, if you recall, do you remember when we went to go see uh,
Firm?
the Firm? And they did a
Yeah.
couple of songs from that soundtrack.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and it was really, really good. I really like the Firm. I wish they would have made at least a few more records. I don't know what happened, but those first two Firm albums, they're really good. Of course, the one we like was the first one because it had that real long
Radioactive.
song that finished it. What was that?
Was that one song Radioactive on there?
Yes. But that real long song at the end called Moonlight Drive or Moonlight something. Do you remember that one? That was a good
No,
closer for the album.
no, but
A
I
really
have an
good.
idea of what you're talking about. But I'll probably play it today and find it and listen to it.
Oh, but that first Farm album was really really good. They had some really good, great musicians on that record. That drummer, I forgot what his name was, but he even appeared playing drums for a little bit on AC/DC. That guy, remember that bald headed guy?
Yeah, I know who you're talking about. He sat in there for a few. I didn't know who he was. Yeah, there was a bald headed guy playing. I was like, who is that?
He's a big time at that time a big time session drummer. I forget what his name is. Simon
Yeah,
something.
those guys make big money. They get paid a lot, and they got to do it on the spot. See, people don't realize about Jimmy Page is that Jimmy Page he played bass. I think for like the Yardbirds a little bit. Then he did the orchestra. Then he went to be a session musician where they would give him these chord progression charts, and he had to learn the song in like 5, 7 minutes. Which me, if I sat down, it might take me once I get all the chords put together. It could take me 30 minutes. It could take me 2 days. And this guy's like pumping out these songs, over and over and it wasn't like today where you get like 45 minutes to get one thing. Well, no, back then the tape was running and you got to get it together. And you only record so many times on the tape, and you just had to get it right. And
Yeah,
he got to be so smart. And so when you listen to his music and you hear this rock, it's more than that. It's way more than that. And what makes their music so special, Led Zeppelin, is that the drummer, if you listen to the drummer, you listen to the drummer follows the guitar player. The guitar player never follows the drummer like Black Dog. You hear dun 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 dun. He's going at the same time, Fool in the Rain. Dun 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 dun.
Yeah, I
So
see
when you
what you're
start to
saying.
figure, so when you start to figure out what's going on, you're like, hey, he's doing, he's following Jimmy Page. Jimmy Page isn't following the drum beat. That's what gives it this really kind of like here's a good example. Like people try to play Stairway to Heaven and they get to that part, it goes ching 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 ching, and everybody's looking at each other like uh ching 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 ching, because they're like, okay, when do I come in? They're confused. Watch a band,
Oh,
watch a cover band
you know
do it.
what
They
I
do
like
like this.
about songs like that is
Yeah,
that people played with feeling. Like when they got to those parts, it was almost like, okay, I think I don't think I know where to go. Nobody plays with that feeling anymore. You know what I mean? Everything is a little bit different now. More, I don't know. Uh,
and I had this
you know what I
really
mean?
good.
You know how people would like you know you get that feeling like say me and you were playing. You know that if you're following me, you know where to go, and it's like some things you feel that feeling, and you go, okay, I'm gonna do this, and then you look at each other with our eyes up, like, yeah, that's it. You know what I
Yeah, yeah,
mean?
yeah,
And that
yeah,
too much music doesn't really have that much anymore, like stuff like that. Now, let me just stop right there for a minute and talk about Jimmy Page, and let me talk a little bit about you. So,
yeah.
bro, what was the one song guitar wise that you said I want to learn how to play guitar? What was it? I don't think if you've told me, I forgot. I know
It
what
was
it was
Stairway
for
to
me.
Heaven. It was Stairway to
Really?
Heaven. But I actually thought it was Back in Black by AC/DC.
Oh,
But
really?
it could have been Yes Roundabout. I mean, there was just so many. I was just, what song was it at the time that I said?
I would say it was something Led Zeppelin. I want to say that from what I remember as kids, I think you got really influenced when I played "Babe, I'm Going to Leave You" off of Zeppelin
Oh
One.
God,
I remember
yes, yes,
you're like,
yes.
"Whoa, you were like, "What is that?" And I was like, "I don't know, but it comes from far, far away." And it when I first heard that song,
Yeah.
I was like,
I,
"What is that? Who is that?" Because I remember I was living with grandma and grandpa, and and I used to listen to KLBJ FM, which is a radio station out of here in Austin, Texas. And when I heard that song, that part where it goes, "Oh," I've never heard anything like that in this song.
oh,
So
like it
that
sounded like
tells
an
me,
airplane jet coming down.
yes. So
Yeah,
that
yeah,
tells me that Led Zeppelin were working, and the way I see it, each one of their albums kept on progressing. I mean, especially with songs like their version of "You Shook Me." When I heard that blistering beginning, I've never heard anything so heavy like that. And I was like, "Oh my goodness, why haven't I bought this record sooner?" But I got through. Like me personally, I got into Led Zeppelin. I don't know if you remember my friend there, Brian DeLeon. His family owned that funeral home, DeLeon
yeah.
Funeral
I
Home.
do, I do kind of remember. That's Lockhart.
That's all right. That's all he listened to was Led Zeppelin. And he had every album, of course, all the 8 records. And he played me Led Zeppelin 2, Led Zeppelin
Mm.
4, and then I heard Presence for him. So, I had to get those whenever I could because, back in those days, records were not like how they are now. Records were, if you had money, because we didn't really have money, we had to like borrow and share records or record records onto 8 tracks or blank cassettes. But I remember buying presents for like 5.99 with that
You
original
know,
hype sticker.
you
Go
know
ahead.
what store that I thought me and you found a lot of good albums at, and you're going to agree with me. It was that freaking Best Products. You go into Best Products, and you would
Oh,
find
yeah.
stuff like, I mean, we even found the AC/DC album the was it Dirty Deeds Done Dirt Cheap with the animated cartoon with the animated cover on it with where Bon Scott's going like this, that big tattoo, and it's like and I had never seen that before, and you told me about it. It's like it was right there. We had a
Yeah.
piece of gold right there in our hand, didn't even know it because Mama wouldn't buy it for us. It's
Well,
like five
because
ninety
that was
nine
an
or something.
import and they were pricey. The imports, I remember that. I remember Best Buy. You remember the store Gibson's in Lockhart? You
Was
remember
that
that
in
store
Lockhart?
Gibson's? Yeah.
I thought it was
I remember going
Wins.
in there. What's that?
I thought it was Wins where like they sold the fish and stuff like that, and they're like a little kind of a what you would call like a Walgreens of its day or something.
No, it was there was a store called Gibson's, which was almost like a version of a Walmart, but
Oh, okay.
but I remember going into Gibson's and seeing the Australian release with the different cover, with the dog peeing on that thing, AC/DC high voltage,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and I was like, why is that cover different from the AC/DC album that I have at home? I had high voltage, and of course, it's the one with Angus Young with the lightning bolt,
Yeah, yeah.
and I said, what's different about that one? So the next time I was there, because back in those days, I did stuff to like earn money. Like I would get a bunch of cans, aluminum cans, do certain uh do certain chores and try to earn some money, get like 20-30 bucks, and then I went
It
back to Gibson's
even trade
and I
records, or
what's that?
even trade records, or you would even record cassettes of songs for people for like something cheap. Hey, I'll record you these songs on this
Yeah, and I would
cassette and
make
for
cassettes
$2 or $3.
for people, and they would give me a little bit of money. And I remember going and getting that ACDC, and I found out what was the difference. It was that one was your way it was intended and was released in Australia with different song lineup because it starts off with them doing that version. You remember the version of "Baby Please Don't Go"? "Baby
Yeah, I
Please
do
Don't
remember
Go."
that.
Well, they
Baby,
do
please,
a
a little bit.
really good version of that song. You remember AC/DC? From what I read and looked at, they did a lot of. There's even a set list that early set list that I remember. They used to do "Honky Tonk Woman" in their set list. I guess when you don't have a lot of material or songs,
I feel like
you
I've
do
heard
play a
that
few.
before. I feel like you
Yeah,
played that
but
before for me.
I've seen a set list of um early set list for I'm looking at the comments. I love Can. Can is a good krautrock band, but I'm sorry about that. But yeah, I remember seeing old set lists of some of the songs that AC/DC used to play, and I remember seeing "Honky Tonk Woman" on there, but I never heard it on a bootleg. Hey, Bill, what's going on? Or I never heard it. Some of that stuff I never heard. I don't really think I've really. The only thing that I ever heard that might be considered like a rare live recording is when, if you remember the box set of AC/DC called Bonfire, where it has Angus Young and Bon Scott on the shoulder or something like that. That one has
Yeah,
a really
yeah.
rare live recording of them live in the Atlantic Record Studio, which is really, really good.
I heard the
Uh,
concerts are incredible.
I I remember being blown away, which is really a hard record to find these days, of AC/DC's "If You Want Blood, You Got It Live." That was you remember
That
that
was a
live record?
yes. That was a
It
great
was like
album.
high energy, very energetic, and Angus Young was just blistering, smoking guitar parts on that album.
He's very good. I guess Young
Yeah.
doesn't get the credit that people think, oh, he just plays EAD. No, no. He's very good. And his solos are, I mean, if you think about the solo on Dirty Deeds, it's like that was impressive. And it was like people weren't doing that kind of stuff. And you hear, like the for those about to it's like this guy is not a fool. This guy knows what he's doing. He doesn't.
Oh
One
yeah.
thing I like about Angus Young versus say if someone today, Angus Young is secure who he is. He only plays himself. He's good at himself. other people are like trying to make music to impress other guitar players. People that make music to impress other guitar players, like I used to do, you only get other guitar players. If you make music that everybody can get into, everybody will come into it. So let's say if I went down the street and I say, "Hey, you ever heard of Aerosmith?" Yeah. Have you ever heard of Steve Vai? Who's that? Or who's? A lot of people aren't going to know who that is. The guitar players will know, but the general public's going to say, "Oh, the best guitar player, it's Angus Young, or it's Jimi Hendrix, or it's Richie Blackmore." They're not going to, because they're thinking of the whole band. They're not going to go, "Oh, the Eagles, yeah." It was Don Felder. Was that Don Felder that plays the lead guitar from the Eagles with Joe
I don't
Walsh?
remember because I think that
That guy
solo.
he is awesome. He
Yeah.
is good. The double
So is
white
Joe
neck Gibson.
Wash. But don't they trade off in that song? Like,
Yeah,
doesn't
you
Don
could
Felder
hear
do?
it.
And then it's I mean, that song has such a great guitar solo in it.
Well,
Hotel California.
yeah, you hear him in the very beginning. He's like, and then you can hear it's very, very articulate, very smooth, very neat. And then you hear Joe Walsh, you know, he just has that kind of style, and you can hear. But I never knew Joe Walsh played on those albums. I only knew Joe Walsh from like the song, Rocky Mountain Way or something like that.
Oh man, that's such a good record. I found
I
that
didn't
record for
realize.
free.
Yeah, I didn't realize that was him on that Eagles album. And the thing about when you have like Eagles and you have Kansas, and who's that other band that's kind of like a Leonard Skinner, you kind of go, is Eagles country? Is Kansas country? Is Leonard Skinner country? They got this kind of southern flow that they can just go in and out. Then you have like Life in the Fast Lane. Then you have Take It Easy. Like, is this a country band? What's going on
I think
here? It just
I
this
think the
transition from in and
Eagles
out.
I think the Eagles come out of that California scene, which is sort of like the way, you had the bands like the Birds, then you had the bands
Hmm.
like
Morrison,
the
Jim.
Burrito Brothers. Yeah, and I think uh those guys were influenced around that California sound, and they became the Eagles. And I can understand why you would say that um that it
Easy
has like a
listening is a
country
good way.
vibe. Yeah, easily. But you know what? I want to go back to something you said about songwriters and those 70s. That is still my one of my favorite periods of music
Oh
was the
yeah.
singer-songwriters. When people actually sat down and wrote songs with some good lyrics, and even though those songs still get played a lot, but they're some of the best songs. I'm gonna give you a guy that I always like and I thought was a good songwriter, and that's Jim Croce. I like his
Oh come
songs.
on, man. Yeah, of course he's freaking
Or
amazing.
America. Remember
Oh my,
America?
yeah,
Good
yes.
songs.
Ventura Highway. The guitar playing on that is freaking very complicated. It's not. It's just a hammer and diddling, diddling, ding, ding, ding. You got to literally go from here and just jump right up, and you got to move your hands quick, like in that song "A Peace of Mind" by you've got with Boston. It's like it's happened so quick that your mind is thinking that you're hearing this but you're really hearing and this is bar chord going back and forth, from 6 to 5, and you have to nail it, or you're going to get. It has to be. It's
Oh,
like
you're
staccato.
gonna do it wrong. You're gonna throw everybody off if you're trying to do that song. Believe
Yeah,
me, I
you
know.
you
Remember how
can't.
many times I threw some people off? Yeah,
And you
but you
got
know
to
what?
be on the mark.
Speaking of good acoustic guitar songs, let me tell you that one that song was freaking hard to do on the guitar, and that's um off of Animals, the song "Dogs." Do you remember that one? Jun, jun, jun. I can't even do it
I
right.
remember
Just
you
trying to
doing
hum
it
it.
one time though. I remember you
I
playing
I
it.
was doing it, but if you don't keep up that certain rhythm, it's not a song that you can just start strumming and then like I'm going to sing it. I got to do one thing, and that's focus. But that is one of the I think one of the all time best acoustic guitar playing songs is that song "Dogs" by Pink Floyd. Oh, David Gilmour. Oh my goodness, that guy's a machine.
David Gil
Sometimes.
the, David Gilmour's sound is so freaking. It's like probably one of my favorite albums by them is Dark Side of the Moon. The guitar playing and everything is so basic. I mean, they're playing drums simpler than the Beatles, and these songs and the guitar tones and the guitar sound is incredible. But you're like, they went to like the simplest drumming. Listen to the album. The drumming is so simple that we wonder why we work so hard and they can pull that off. It's just like that's like
That's a good point.
elementary, but it's so perfect. So perfect.
Yeah, you know
And
what? Yep, you're right. And
and
that's
look at
what you
Curtis,
know what, and that's what Nick Mason talked about not too long ago about the drumming on Dark Side of the Moon.
genius. It reminds me like
Oh
one
my
of
goodness.
my favorite drum solo is, obviously that one Bonzo's Matriarch, but my favorite drum song, it's not a drum song, is A Day in the Life by the Beatles. The stuff that Ringo Starr does. I
Oh my goodness.
was like, that's incredible. I love that. Give me more.
You
That's
know
my
that little
favorite
so
drum.
that's your favorite drum song?
I love the drum that he
You
does
know
on it.
what
It's
song
just
I like
so
the
cool.
drumming of on that album? Was
What's
that
that?
Lovely Rita. I love the drumming on that song. Lovely Rita, remember that? Standing by
Heck,
a parking meter. Oh my goodness, I love that drumming on that song. It's
you
just
see, and I always thought of Ringo Starr as being like the weakest link, and I always thought of his drums were, and then when I started getting older and I could actually listen to the music, I was like, man, Ringo's a good drummer.
oh yeah. Yeah, and people are finding that out now, the newer generation. I mean, think about the drumming like on a tune like Ticket to Ride. And how he came up with that, how he could do all that on that small kit and just be Ringo, you know?
Look at the old earlier verse. See, you can find the Immigrant Live from Led Zeppelin, even though they put the audio over the video. Look at the small kit Bonham is playing. It looks like something that somebody's in a high school band. It He looks huge compared to that little bitty few tom. It's so small, but he's just wrecking. It's like, I said, look at the size of that drum. There's nothing there, and all this
Okay.
sound is coming out of it.
Yeah, you're right. Now I want to do something to you. Tell me your 5 favorite songs that you love the drumming on. That is like, oh man, every time I hear that, I love the drumming on that song. Give me your 5
Oh,
songs.
we're gonna groove by off a code of Led Zeppelin. You gotta have that
Bow, da-da. Oh
was
man, I
great.
love that. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I think when the levee breaks has got a really good drum song, a really good beat on that. Uh, I have to say that when I just said, a day in the life, that was excellent drumming to me. And I'm not. I mean, it's kind of hard to say because there's only so many people that actually stood out. And another drum song that I would say that has a good beat. I don't know. I don't know what the last two are. I really couldn't tell you. I mean, there's just
Yeah. I mean, if you were to throw that at me, I'll be like, I probably would name 5 Who songs that I love the drum. I'll tell you a Who song that I've seen people trying to do. Like, have you seen that documentary video? I forget the name of it. Hired Hand. It's about drummers. Have you ever seen that on? It's on
oh,
Netflix.
we have to give Neil Peart one for Tom Sawyer. That was a pretty good drum beat on that one.
Oh my! When I first heard that song Tom Sawyer, I didn't know what that was. I was like, man, did these guys land from Mars or something? What the heck? I never heard anything like that, but I loved it. And I'm a big Rush fan. You know that. Um,
Yeah, you know that song. Dun, 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 dun. So they asked Neil Peart, well, what's it like playing that drum solo? You know what he said? He goes, I'm always surprised I'm able to pull it off. That's how complicated it is. It's really that
I'll tell you,
complex.
if you watch that Hired Hand, it's about drummers. I might be getting the title wrong, but it's about drummers that get hired.
Oh, okay,
I'm
okay,
gonna
like
tell
studio
you, I
musicians.
saw a guy and it does not look easy. Some people, not everybody, kind of down the drumming of Keith Moon. The guy is brilliant. Okay, he's a great drummer, and yes, I'm partly saying that because I'm a big Who fan. That's my favorite band. But listen to the drumming and watch one of those guys trying to drum to that song. Who are you? You will get worn out. You can tell the guy's getting worn out playing that. That is a very complex drumming on the Who Are You. I remember playing
It,
in a band, and this guy, he didn't really like our music. He thought, whatever he thought, I don't give a blank. But anyway, he was a drummer in another band, and he tried to tell me, Edward, I can play your songs I can drum to the songs y'all are going to play tonight with just one hand behind my back. And I thought, that's why you're not playing with us. I don't need you to. I don't. That's why you're not playing with us tonight. And come to turn it out, he didn't know what he was talking. He was trying to be one of those. Remember how we used to run into those g- guys that called
know-it-alls.
know-it-alls, the gatekeeper. If I was to see that guy, I would ask him now. I said, "You go drum that song. Who are you?" Or drum to a Rush song. Let me see. I saw a young girl drumming to a Rush song. I forgot the video what it was. And I was like, "What?" She was a Asian girl, and she was oh my goodness, she was kicking ass on that kid.
I'll
You
tell
know,
you, if somebody were to ask me, Chris, who do you think the best drummer? I mean, that I'm of course I don't know. I would have to say without a doubt, there's no one, Neil Peart, none of these guys can never say that Buddy Rich was not the master. That
Buddy
guy
Rich is
was the
one of
master.
the yeah. You know who what I would
He
say?
is a
Gene
damn good
Krupa.
drummer.
Buddy
Why does that
Rich and
sound
Gene
familiar?
Krupa, because that guy kicks ass, and that was Keith Moon's favorite drummer. Gene Krupa. Oh
Keith
my
Moon was a good
goodness.
drummer,
What
though.
what we're talking about here is drumming, not f- freestyle flashing. Let me show you
Yeah,
how.
anybody.
I'm not talking about.
I don't want to watch
I'm
that.
not
I
talking
might as
about
well.
that. We're talking about like drummers, like Art Blakey from jazz or Elvin Jones, that kind of drumming where, keeping the monster beat. But heck, those guys could go off at any time and do a drum solo and make you think twice. Like replay, like what the hell happened? Those guys were like, the masters of drumming. Those
Alex
early
Van
guys.
Halen. Alex
Oh,
Van
you know
Halen
what?
can
No one
really
talks
play the
about him.
drums. He is
No one
good.
talks about.
No,
And you know
he's
what? He
incredible.
made his sound.
Yeah, he is incredible. Him and his brother are both super talented. What are they, Holland and Indonesian? Yeah, I think that's what they
Yeah.
are. They're
Alex can
both
play guitar
incredible.
too, right?
Sure. I don't doubt it. I mean, look at Randy Rhodes' brother. He plays with bands and he's a keyboard player and he plays amazing keyboard.
Yep. You know what I was going to
And
tell
it's
you?
like,
You know what memory I have of you coming home excited with? And we
what?
played that record, that little black little floppy disk little record is
Mm,
when you came home with Guitar Magazine and it had Yngwie Malmsteen, that song
yeah,
Black Star.
yeah, I
You
remember
remember
that. Used to
we
pull
played
it
that
out
thing to death.
because I never heard anything like that. Then I knew my career was over. I was like, this is nothing. I don't know. It just went from like Led Zeppelin to Van Halen, which and then all of a sudden it went to this. And I was like, okay, I'm done. It ruined my life. It broke my heart. It gave me emotional stress. Started drinking Bud Light. No, but I want to talk about that about the guitar thing because when we first heard guitar, I mean, the first time we really heard distortion on guitar, it was before Jimi Hendrix. It was Keith Richards with the dan, 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 dan.
Oh
That's
my
when you really first
goodness.
heard distortion. Because it's like, what is that? It's distortion. So back in the old days, the Fender amps were trying to get rid of distortion because they thought it was too much noise. They're like, oh, we need to clean it up. And then someday, I guess somebody must have walked in one day and just tipped over the thing. It's like, what is this? And so then the distortion started to
How,
become
how
like,
much
hey, you got to have that.
in your honest opinion, how much do you think a lot of those guitar tones that we heard and those feedbacks and all that, how much what is your thought? Do you think some of those were like accidents, or do you think they like, oh, wait a minute, I like that. I just made, like when the Beatles did the feedback to the beginning of that song, "I Feel Fine." You remember that? Boom, bam, bam, bam,
Yeah.
bam. Do you think a lot of that was accidents?
Well,
A lot of
I
those
think a
early
lot of it,
songs,
like Jimi Hendrix, he had to have a fuzz pedal, and the guy would bring him out five fuzz pedals, and he was trying to think about how Jimi Hendrix was, and he would play one, and he said, I don't like that one. He would play two, and he go, then I'd go back, he'd go to the fifth, I'd come back to the first one, he goes, oh, that one sounds good. So to show you how finicky he was. So yes, people were experimenting with tone. Others were just playing. I mean, you can pretty much tell Jimmy Page just walk up to the amp. He probably had an orange amp or Marshall, whatever he was using. He's not really a tone genius per se. And then you have like people like Al Di Meola. Steve I says that Al Di Meola came, he just plugged into an amp that was there, didn't even adjust anything and played it. But I think it really started to get refined when you had people like Tom Schultz who like, I'm going to make my own effect pedal. I'm going to make my own distortion, my own chorus. And you had people like Randy Rhoads, I'm using MXR, and people started dialing in a tone because here's what I think happened. Like at the very beginning, we had the ES-35 hollow body, big guitars with big sound. Then you had like the Who come out, and you had this really bigger sound, and it was about how loud it could be. And then you had like Led Zeppelin, it was super loud and distortion. And then I thought people probably wanted to get more like, hey, I can't have this distortion in my apartment and blow the whole freaking house down. How can I get that sound without breaking the walls down? So let's make a distortion that can be loud and crunchy and perfect without blowing everything away, because back then you had to crank the amp to 10 and bring everything to full blast. You got 50, 100 watts blowing through. So how can we get that sound lower? We can get the same distortion at a controllable volume. And then
right?
I think when you had like Eric Johnson, when he came out, oh, we want chorus. Oh, we want delay. Because there wasn't delay back in the old days. I mean, you had Van Halen using that tape echo, just rewinding the tape over and over for, eruption. And it wasn't like this fancy delay pedals we think of now. And the other guys use echo, and then the wah-wah pedal, it came from organ. And I guess Jimmy decided, hey, let me plug this into the amp. Oh, wow, wow. I mean, just stuff like that accidental. Hey, because Jimmy was like, hey, give me
Right.
something I can try. An octave, I'll take one of those. Anything new? Anything else out there? And then you had Jimi Hendrix before the pedals got big. Hey, why don't I just put this bow on my guitar? Oh, like I got a new sound. And let me get that thing called the theremin. And woo, 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 wait, what if I put that theremin with distortion and delay, just innovating? And so when I noticed guitar, I look back at the beginning and you see like Steve Howe, and he's got these intricate styles. And back then, people probably didn't know what the music was about. And you had Led Zeppelin doing this hard rock sound, and you had what I'm talking about, like the band with someone like Pete Townsend playing guitar, and yet Elvis, and all these guys doing guitar, and everybody was trying to find their way. Like, okay, what can I do with
Yeah.
my guitar differently to make me different? I'm Steve Howe, or Jimmy Page. He just plays anything he wants. So then at the same time, we got to this point where, like a lot of these bands that people listen to today, like Yes, they didn't understand back then. But when you come back, you go, oh, so everybody's trying to find their own way. Who can be more creative? Who can make more different type? Who can go take it further? And it came to a standstill for a while. Jimi Hendrix took it to the level that showed you what you could do with guitar. And then Jimmy Page came, and then Eddie Van Halen came and freaking pulled the rug underneath everybody, and that was the standard. Then Yngwie Malmsteen came, but then all these heavy metal bands came, and every song had a guitar solo. But then something strange happened. Then
Okay.
you had the Seattle with Soundgarden. You had Nirvana. You
Oh
had Pearl
yeah.
Jam. They started making songs, and there was no guitar solos anymore. Very little. Then you started seeing
They
the
were very
guitar
little. You're
solos
right.
was fading away. Now you have a lot of songs, and back then it was flooded with guitar, and everybody, the music was guitar and obsessed with guitar. And back then someone finally says, I'm just going to play guitar. I'm just going to make a song. So we would be listening to Dire Straits song, Money for Nothing. Here's me. Where's the guitar solo? Oh, there's no guitar solo here. They started going away. They started
Remember
making songs.
you know what? You remember the song by Dire Straits, Do the Walk of Life"? I don't remember that
Yeah, yeah,
song
yeah.
having a guitar solo,
It
but
sounds like a
it
very
has one of
Creole
the
song,
nicest
Cajun.
tempo. Yeah, yeah, it has a really okay. I'm gonna say I'm gonna throw three guitar players at you, and you give me your thoughts on them. You don't have to go into a long,
Yeah, 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 no
anything
problem.
like that. But I'm gonna say three guys, and you tell me your thoughts on them. Okay, you ready?
Yeah,
Pete Townsend.
freaking spectacular on acoustic and great on electric. But that song Behind Blue Eyes is probably one of the most impressive dynamics. The way he strummed it, the way he controls it, the way he moves your emotion with. He makes the guitar come alive. I like that.
I like that comment. Yeah, baby. You hear that out there? He makes
I
the
mean,
songs come alive.
you could you could give me a crappy guitar, and you can give me a nice guitar, and it's not like someone once said, "What football do I need to buy my son so he can go to the Super Bowl?" Nothing. Doesn't matter if you have the best guitar. It's what you can do with the football. It's what you can do. The guitar does nothing. So I can take
Right.
a junky guitar and play it, and someone say, "Hey, that he makes the guitar sound good." No, I'm just playing it. Everybody's different. Okay, who's the second guy?
The second guy. Okay, are you ready?
Yeah.
Larry Carlton. I
Oh, come
love
on,
Larry
Larry
Carlton.
Carlton, Room 335. That guy's a genius. You can listen to some of his songs, and he can change key and modulate, and still end up with an open E that didn't have anything to do with the song, and it worked. And Steve
He-
Lukather loves him. He calls him his sensei. He's
oh,
fantastic.
really?
Didn't he
I
play?
didn't know Steve
Yeah,
Luker. I didn't know that.
yeah. They played Room 335. Room 335 is Vinnie Moore. That's where I got it from. Listen to it. The music on there is so freaking amazing. And there's a
I've
song
been
called "Was
looking
Only
for that.
Yesterday."
Right.
Listen to that song "Was Only Yesterday." It will make Joe Satriani's "Always with You, Always with Me" and all those other love song guitars sound like crap.
I'll tell
That
you a
was
good guitar love song.
spectacular.
I was listening to it the other day. Jeff Beck, "Cause We End Like Lovers." That's
I heard that
nice. That's got
before.
a weeping, makes you kind of get emotional when you hear that tune.
Jeff
You
Beck
remember
has
that from
got
Blow
this.
by Blow?
Yeah, what's good about Jeff Beck is that he's got these strong fingers, and he can make the guitar almost get like a synthesized type, just like
I
really
know. How does
kind
he
of
do that?
unique tone. That's just his style. People can
You
mimic
know,
it, but it's just the way that he does it.
when I hear uh Jeff Beck and Larry Carlton and their solos, I freaking want to just break my acoustic guitar. I'm like, seriously, I'm like, there's nobody. Oh, okay. Now my third guitar player. You ready? The third one. This
Yeah.
is one of my favorites. Robert Fripp, King Crimson. Go.
Oh, come on. Robert Fripp was like that guy that plays he plays a lot of chromatic. Like
Yeah. Yes.
he plays, I think he played with some kind of Crimson kind of group or something kind of King. What was it? King
Yeah.
Crim was
King
it?
Crimson.
Yeah, Robert Fripp is a genius. Robert Fripp is like what Alan Holdsworth is, Al Di Meola are, John McLaughlin. Alan Holdsworth is in that league, except he's just very, where you have Di Meola with all the triplets and high C notes, and he's like, he's just very, but he does it so fast. Like to really break it down slow, you got to watch Django Reinhardt play, something in minor
Oh my
blues.
goodness.
He plays with
Yeah.
those two fingers, and he goes from the first fret all the way down with one finger, and it wasn't like it was like every note was heard, but it happened so fast. It's like he goes, if you can see it, it's like, but it's every single note. It wasn't a slide like a thing. It was like it's just like every note is
I
perfect.
totally understand
Every
what you're
note,
saying now.
like
Yeah.
15 notes. All there's like each individual one going one like E F sharp G, but all you hear is and the pick is moving. It's not like I slide. No, I was like, dude, how'd you do that? I was like, oh, get out of my face, man. I'm done with you. And this is supposed to be the 30s and 40s or 50s. This is
That
like the Bible
Daniel
says,
Reinhardt, that guy
there's
was a
nothing new under the
freaking
sun.
genius.
Yeah, he got his
Yeah.
hands. He's a
Daniel
gypsy.
Reinhardt, that guy was a genius
Yeah, he's a
at guitar
gypsy.
playing.
He was in a caravan, and the caravan caught on fire, and he melted his two fingers, so they couldn't move anymore. So he had to use those two.
Really? I didn't know that.
Oh my
Now,
goodness, he
now
was a
I know what
genius.
to say about this guy. You've seen this guy probably once or maybe twice. But we got to throw in there Phil Kagi.
Oh, come on, man. Phil Kagi, the win
I
and the
try to
week,
read
hands
some Phil
down.
Kagi music once. I try to like look at some guitar tower Phil Kagi. I was like, what the hell? I didn't
I talked.
understand it.
I was talking to Phil Kagi.
Oh, you did?
He was like, yeah, he was right there in front of me, and he's about this tall, like up to my chin. And
Really?
then so he
Oh,
was coming
yeah.
out. There's a place. It's off of when you're going down Burnett Road. There's one of these things called like the streets like Arroyo Seco, like Dry Creek Road.
Yeah.
And there was a
Right.
church there, so we went there. And this was after the win and the week. He never played any of those albums. He was doing a bunch of the sampling and samples. So we never got to hear the songs we want to hear. So he's walking out, and these people around him. I said, "Hey, Phil." He looks at me. I do. I only had to because he's still walking. I said, "What kind of guitar strings do you use?" He goes, "Guild Bright Bronze." That's all I could.
That's
I mean,
cool.
they had to get him. They had to get him out of there with just too many people. Guild Bright Bronze,
Whoa.
and I
Whoa.
was like, "That was
That's
yeah."
epic, man.
No, I got to see
Phil
him, and
Kagi.
I mean, it was me, and guess who? Me and Mark Holacek.
I thought it was you and what's his name? That other guy.
No, not
The
Eric. It
other
was me and
church
Mark.
guy. It wasn't
No,
what's his name?
it was Mark Holacek because he had that Toyota car he took us in.
Steven has a
Eric Stromback?
suggestion right here. Guys, suggestions. Give us 3 songs to search and listen to for a future show.
Oh man,
I'm gonna let you go first.
I'm gonna tell you, you have to go with Al Demiola. What's that one called? Race with the Devil on Spanish Highway. That's a
Oh my
great
goodness.
song to listen to.
That song is, I got into those guitar players that you're mentioning through you when you brought them home, and I was like, "What are you listening to?" And I got curious, but it was like later on when I moved out on my own, I was like, and I would see their albums, and I would go, "My brother talked about them," so I'd buy them, and I like that version that Al Diamola does of that Zappa song. Remember that one, "Short Forest," or
Oh,
it's
it's
it's on his first record.
yeah, I know what you're talking about, like the Tales of the Short Black. But that's yeah, I know what you're talking about. I know what you're talking about.
That
Yeah.
first album of his is really good. And then when you started talking about,
No,
remember when
that
you came,
wasn't.
didn't you
No, I
have that on
think that was
LP at one
Chick
time?
Corea.
Oh, Chick
I think
Corea.
that was Chick Corea's song.
Remember you came home? Did you come home once? I felt like you did with Joe Satriani's "Surfing with the Alien" album. Didn't
Yeah,
you
I
have
did.
that?
Yeah, I
But
did.
you did you buy that or you borrowed it?
No,
Yeah,
I
I was
don't
just curious.
remember
I
because
think
I
you
used to
bought it because you said, "Hey Edward, look what I bought on vinyl."
believe it or not, man. I used to play always with you, always and always with me. Note Perfect, and I used to play Ice Nine, even with that difficult solo Note Perfect. Even though it took me a week or so to keep going over it because
Oh, you
it
knew
was
how to
just
play
so.
that?
Yeah, yeah. It was a, and I was using my Boss GT10.
Ooh.
So
Maybe the next time we do a stream, you can show us your what's the word? Your guitar stylist, or whatever that word is.
I
I
remember
don't know.
this one guy in the Virgin Islands used to live there. They didn't use the word solo. Goes, yeah, that's just a lot of featuring. Featuring is like, okay, yeah, we call it guitar
Feature. Oh,
solo. That's
featuring over there is means solos, right?
yeah, like featuring, there's not really words for that. But another song that I would say that I'd want someone to listen to, I mean, I can't get enough of Yes's Roundabout. Just
I
the
was going to say
guitar
the same
wizardry in
thing.
that one. I just love that
I was
guitar's
going to
work
say
on
the
that.
same thing when you were done with your list. I was going to say go listen to Yes Roundabout.
That's one of my
That
warm-ups. That's one of my warm-ups because I'll use that and then I'll play the part you like the part that goes ding 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 and it goes diddle-da-dun, diddle-da-dun. So it's like it's I can't show it's like you're going diddle-da-dun, 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 diddle-da-dun. So you're going C D and all the way back up to that and it happens so fast diddle-da-dun, 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 diddle-da-dun. And it's just that's such a good exercise since you're going these triplets and you're going up to the C note, then you're going flat, then you're going to A, then it just the way that it works, it helps get that movement going. I
What
like
would be
that.
the third song?
The third song, man, I like We're Gonna Groove. I don't know what it is about We're Gonna Groove.
What is Jimmy doing on there as far as getting that guitar tone? You know that. Dun, 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 dun. I mean, I love that sound.
That's a nasty ass distortion that he always has all the time. He's just got to just like walks up there and turns it on and gain like almost there and a lot of presence. And it, it's not that complicated of a song. And it's as simple as a song you hear from a like immigrant song. Immigrant song is so powerful, but you have to get that, that octave. It's the same thing like F sharp, F sharp, ding, 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 ding. It's the same note, just one's higher than the other.
Oh,
And then you
really?
got, I think it's like E, A, E, ding, and that's it. And then you got the part where you're going, it's
What,
just, it's the simplest song, but it's the pattern you got to get. Has to sound like that.
let me ask you this. What is that sound at the beginning of that song? You know that it sounds like drum, the cymbal or something. Before the dan 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 dan. Have you ever figured out what that
Yeah,
begin?
no, it's a reverse. I'm going to go,
Yeah, yes,
just
that's
like
it.
in the beginning of Black Dog, they do it too.
I like that when they did that. When you hear those things and those songs, you know what you're in for. You know, like okay, that's immigrant song, or you know
Well,
that's Black Dog.
that's a hi hat in reverse. So you go, but you want reverse. And you know who does it too?
Who?
Roundabout. Roundabout, they play the chord, which you go, like let's say you would hit a harmonic, bong, right?
Right.
But what they do is they go reverse. It goes, wong,
Oh,
and you
that
hear it
makes a
again.
lot of sense.
Wong. So they play it reverse. So you have the note. It's like they're going, bong, and you got the, wong. That's why the note comes like this. It's like a complete thong. It's like, what happened there? Yeah, you can't play that in real life, okay, people? That's just the reverse. So when you hear the bong, where's the like that? That's why it goes sound like an airplane. That's what it is. So I
Let me
figured
ask you
that
this
out.
real quick. Let me ask you this before, because we're getting close to the end here.
Yeah,
What is your and I may already know this. What is your favorite Yes album?
man. You know what? I do like Roundabout a lot. I'll just say, can I have old and new? I'll take that old one, and I'll take Big Generator for the new one.
You like Big Generator? I love that record.
Aim
Oh
high,
my
shoot
goodness.
low. Oh, come on. Shoot
Oh
high,
my
aim low.
goodness.
That
That's a
guitar on there.
good.
He's
Yeah.
playing that guitar and he overlaps that solo on that acoustic 4 times on top of each other. And you
Really?
can't even tell, not overdub. Oh, I'm talking about actually playing and not just overlap. You can't even tell that it's happening.
Oh man, that's awesome. So you said that's a new album. What's an older album? You said one old, one new.
Fragile.
Okay, you ready for mine?
Yeah.
Fragile. And I'm gonna throw this album in there because it has uh I believe the guitar player is Trevor Raven still on it, and the album Talk. Do you remember that one? That's some really good guitar playing on that album. An album very underrated. Talk. Go YouTube it later and listen to the whole thing. It is very good. I'm surprised that has. It probably has been put on vinyl, but it probably got really pricey. You know, because sometimes they'll make a small pressings of them. But I like Fragile, and later I like the album Talk. I thought that album Talk is really a good record. Maybe not as popular as 90125 or the one you mentioned, Big Generator, but I think it's a pretty good heavyweight album there.
I
All
like
right, next
Stephen
question.
Archer. Yeah, I like Stephen Archer. Yeah, that's a great question because he was asking, and I definitely like We're Going to Groove. I like to listen to that song, even though it's not a popular. It just sounds great, and I really like the guitar playing on Celebration Day live off of The Song Remains the Same. That's freaking takes you up and down, and just it hits everything you want a song to hit.
I'll tell you three good songs, Steven, if you're still here to listen to. In my opinion, my brother made some great choices there. I would go and listen to the Who, The song "The Kids Are All Right," a song that has no guitar solo and doesn't really need one. The Kids Are All Right. Then I would recommend listening to the Kinks. This is a really good song, Waterloo Sunset. And then I would say the Beatles, Paperback Writer.
Mm.
That is one of the nicest guitar riffs I've ever heard in rock music. I mean, that's my all-time favorite Beatles song. I remember, you know what? We all have starting places about how we got into like for me the Beatles, how I got into more of their records was those red and blue compilations. You remember those?
Remember I kept
That's
lying
how I
about those.
started.
You remember that one that I kept lying to you about that you looked
Oh
forever,
yeah.
but I was
You
like,
even tried to
"Hey,
tell me
did
there
you
was a
get the?"
green one, and I went looking
Yeah,
for that, and I was like, man, the guy at the record store said, I don't know of no green compilation album.
and you kept looking for it because the first one's like
You
50s,
got
and the
me
other
on
one's like
that one, man. I
60s.
was over there
It's like,
looking like a duck lost on a desert.
but Edward, you should have realized that wasn't true because it was in the 70s when I told you they couldn't have went past the last numbers.
Well, actually, they could have. It would have been more of a like their early solo stuff. But my favorite out of the two is the blue one. The blue one is
Mm.
my favorite.
Oh yeah, got all
I
the
love
good
this
ones.
one.
Do you know what? You know one of my favorite Beatles songs, but it's not a Beatles song.
What's that?
I'm just sitting here watching the wheels go round and round by John Lennon, and
Oh
then
my
that other
goodness, that's a
song.
good song.
What's the other
Yeah.
song he has? Woman,
You
but
know who
there's
sang
another
that song
one.
good? I used to hear Grandma singing that song. She had a good voice.
What was the other song that he had? Is the woman?
Just like
I'm just
starting
gonna
over.
watch it. No, not that one. That's a good song though too. There was another one.
Um,
It just had it in my mind. Had it in, it's like when his solo
was it from
album.
the same album?
It might have been.
There was just like starting over, watching the wheels go round and round. Let me see here if I can find the album. Double Fantasy.
Is that the one that goes? People think I'm crazy. Dun, 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 dun. Watching the
Oh,
wheels go
yep, that's
round and
watching the
round.
wheels go round. You like that, don't you?
Just something about it. Those were good songs. Now the Yoko Ono stuff, man, I don't know what to say about that. I mean, I almost had to sue them for attempted deafness when I heard that
Yo,
Yoko Ono
you better
album
not
live.
put down Yoko. I like Yoko's voice. Kiss, kiss,
Okay,
kiss, kiss me not. I like that song. You remember
she can
that?
sing about anything. She can sing about an attorney. Get an attorney.
Stop. You know she's a classical trained pianist. She knows how to play piano very well.
Well, I couldn't tell.
Oh, brother, my
I'm
goodness.
joking. I don't know her that well, but I just remember Yoko Ono is after she ruined John Lennon. I'm sorry to say, John Lennon was doing
No.
just fine without her.
You what I was gonna say is your favorite David Bowie song. I'm just curious. Do you have a
Oh
favorite?
man, ground control to Major Tom. Somebody
That,
tell him again.
that is such a good song, right?
I love playing that song. That is a good. Oh, no, I got to admit, my other top song that's on that, I like that. I'm Not in Love by 10cc. You ever notice in the 70s they all had that kind of a. I
I know what
just
you're gonna say.
drink a bunch and I'm just in this love kind of. You had these love songs like I'm Not in Love and the one we just did Ground Control. Even though Ground Control is not a song about love, but it gets you into that feeling of, okay, here's what it does. Those songs make you think what your subconscious think, and you bring them to the forefront. Like, oh, that's how I feel when I'm depressed.
That's true though.
I want to get another beer, and I just want to go back to that special depressed place. So
I, I
fun.
I was trying to think. I know what you're trying to say. I tell you, this album right here is a very good Bowie album from beginning to. I think it's one of his best records. Every time I hear that song, I think about what you just said. I'm like, man, that. Why am I thinking about that, or why am I depressed about that?
And
You
the
know?
song is about nothing, just about a guy that went into outer space, doesn't want to come back home, and make it sound like, but you don't hear that. You
Right.
just you're not paying attention that the words really aren't talking about very much.
I'm gonna talk
Take
about an album that me and you liked, and I remember you getting this album in a box, and Mom
take
thought
your
I'm
pro,
the one that ordered the records. Remember, Mom goes,
Edward,
"Edward, what did you order?"
take your protein pills and keep your helmet on. Oh my God, touch and go isn't that's the Cars.
That's a
You
good.
know how much
Remember
money I
this?
owe them? You know how much money I owe them because I got those six records for 1 penny, and I was supposed to pay back is back in 1980 something, and I think I owe them like $50.
Really? Does that all?
You remember that when you said a penny, they'll send you like 5 albums?
Yeah. I
Well,
remember I
that's what
getting
I
blamed
did.
for it. She goes, Edward, quit lying and trying to blame your brother Chris about that box. I said, I didn't order that. But then when we
And
finally got to open it, you ordered some good records, I remember.
I didn't know much about albums. I just
You
because the
picked them.
albums there wasn't like billions of different bands back then. I was like, oh, that looks interesting. I'll grab that one. Oh, it's got a flag on it. That's how I bought it. I didn't even know who the Cars were, and I heard "Touch and Go." I was like, oh, I heard the song on the radio.
What do you think about the guitar playing in that song? It's one of the best car songs, Touch and Go. It doesn't get
The
played a
guitar
lot.
player, the guitar player is exceptionally well. He's good. He's a left-hander, but he is so good.
Elliot
He's
Easton.
yes, he's a
Yeah.
genius. There's no doubt about it. He's a genius. You,
Hey,
and they've got
Christopher, I just showed some records.
hey, you know what? And you got to admit that the Cars keyboardist is probably one of the best in the world.
Oh yeah. They were such a good band to make those short
Now,
little 3, 4 minute songs.
I wasn't
Nobody
into
does that. Yeah.
that drive song by the bass player because everybody was going into that one part. Like, remember the Disco Day? You know, Rod Stewart. If you like, I'm buying you, think I'm sexy. And you had Debbie Harry Blondie going Rapture.
That's not
It's
a
like
bad
every
song though.
no, it's
That's
not.
a
I saw her in concert. I saw her play that song. I was right there.
How was the concert?
It was great.
Oh my
It was at
goodness.
the
That's
Austin
awesome.
Aquafest. Austin
Where?
Aquafest.
At the
Austin Aquafest.
Aquafest? I
Yeah.
saw
She
Cheap Trick 2 times at Aquafest. And each
I love that song. I want you to want me live. That one just
remember we got that record live at Budokan? We played that one a lot. That's a good live album.
that song is hard to play, even though it's all bar chords, because it's not in the traditional way you think of them in, not like the oh, this pattern of it's just the way that it moves around to
What do you
make
think
it
about his guitar playing?
I think his guitar playing is great.
I
He even
saw
throws
him.
he throws a little bit of guitar licks in that song too. He does a song, like cool.
When I saw him in concert, I was really close, and I could not keep. I mean, he's all over the fretboard on those songs. I'm like, there's that many chord changes. What the?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, look. You know what? I like that song "Dream Police," but listen to the end and all those chords. I was like, no, dude, that's way beyond my pay rate. I could figure it out, but I don't have. The hardest song I ever figured out was "Distant Lover" by Marvin Gaye
Oh, that's hard. I bet.
because 50% of it is there's an organ playing. And the
Right.
guy that plays bass in this on Marvin Gaye, who's considered one of the best bassists in the world, he's been on 100 number one songs with his bass playing from soul
Really?
and R&B. 100 top songs. He was a bass player on them.
I believe it. Most of those guys that played with those Motown artists, they're
Like
on a
Stevie
lot
Wonder.
of. Yeah.
Stevie Wonder.
You
That's
you
him on there too.
you know who was a good funky bass player? Remember those guys, the brothers Johnson? That dude.
Oh man, yes. And then you
Bro-
have I tell you one of my favorite guitar players, Sly and the Family Stone, in that song. I just talk about Steven wasn't here. We were just talking to is that uh Sly and the Family Stone. I just want to thank you for letting me be myself
Oh man, that's a hard
live,
song.
live on the Soul Train, which I used to love watching Soul Train. They were just always so good. He plays guitar the most unusual, coolest guitar solo I've ever heard in my life. It's probably one of my top. It's one of those that comes between your top one, top five, and then just one other one.
And it
I've
was
always
that
got this
song.
list of top 10. Huh?
It was that song.
Yeah, it was a live version, but it's
Sly could
called.
also get on the guitar and do some lead stuff too. He did. Whenever his brother Freddie, they would kind of, I guess, his brother was in the band, and sometimes I
Yeah,
guess they bump heads, and he'd tell him, Freddie, go home. You're not playing it right. Like if me and
but
you
Freddie's good.
I'd be like, Chris, go home. That's not the kind of guitar solo I want tonight. I'm looking for
No, you know
that.
what you used to always say?
What?
Chris, really another 3-minute intro? And I said, Edward, that's all those Yes songs and those Led Zeppelin songs you played, all these long intros, and that's why I have a long intro all the time. Because
But I
I
didn't
that's
want him on my song. No, I'm just kidding with you.
no, but you know what? We did write our own song, and it was called Seaside Woman.
Yeah, we did write that. That was a good song.
And I still practice that songs today, just figuring out new parts for it.
But I like the
Eh,
guitar solo you do in that song. I don't even know if I can do those chords again anymore.
I wish we
My
had that
hands are kind of
cassette
like
recording. I wish we
I'm
had that
actually
cassette recording of it. That would be awesome.
I don't have that anymore, I don't think.
Remember our backup singer?
She's retired now, let's put it that way. So before I go, are there any questions you want to ask me? Music related or we didn't even
And
get
that you,
into
I will
we'll get
say
into that next time
that
about
what that
influences on guitar players that, what inspired us more to
it
pick
was
up the
you. It was your a thing of music, and the reason I want to do this is to let people know that you really are the real deal. You did not start collecting albums like a year ago or 5 years ago. No, pretending like you know. I was there. You were there. While I was still playing with Fisher Price toys and Weeble Wobbles, you had albums. You had a cheap little white plastic little stereo, plastic speakers. The first albums I remember you had was like the Monkees, and there was the Beatles, and that wasn't like Mama said, you can just go out and buy what you want. Most of those albums came because grandma and grandpa took you to buy them. One of the I don't remember what music store that was in Houston, Texas, but it had a lot of light and sun coming through it. It's
Oh,
just
I love that. It was called Texas Tapes Records.
yeah. That I remember one time. That's the
That
first
is
time
an
I started.
awesome play. You know what? Try to look them up, and I didn't mean to interrupt you. I try to look them up on the internet to see. I don't think they're around there, but let me tell you, that store was the best because they had imports on vinyl of Led Zeppelin, all these things. Remember
But
how
it
you could?
was,
Yeah.
but it
Go ahead. I'm
was
sorry.
you. You brought those albums. You had those LPs. You protected them. You had them covered, and I just couldn't keep my little mitts off of them because I just loved it. And then you would have in the Led Zeppelin album, I would listen to that one. Of course, I bumped into the needle and broke the needle inside the song remained the same Rain song live and hoping you wouldn't notice. And one day, Edward decides he's going to play the Rain song. And I'm like, please, no. It is the same time of my loving. This is the same time of my loving. It is this. Edward, what is that? You broke the needle? It's like,
You did break
please,
the
I hope it's the
needle.
springtime of your loving. Don't kill me.
You know what I was gonna say? I've grown fond of liking the live version of Dazed and Confused. At first, I didn't like it, but now as I got older, I love the live version of Dazed and Confused on Song Remain the Same. I think it's really good. It's kind of more bluesy. There's more, you know what I mean? There's more guitar. There's more music going on. You know
I
what I
didn't
mean?
like I didn't like No Quarter, but the more I went back and listened to it, I was like, man, that
Oh,
is a good guitar. I think if I remember, I know Moby Dick that the E is tuned down to D, but I want to say that on No Quarter the E is tuned down to D. He's very tricky. He has like I can play Brawn Your R, I can play what's that one song? Black Mountain Side. They're not as you heard me play Black Mountain Side. The
oh
thing is
yeah.
that I have one guitar. It's got 53s on it. I mean, like really thick strings to play Black Mountain Side, and that the guitar is specifically bought, and that's all it does. Then I have another guitar that specifically does Brawn Your R and those guitar tunings. Then I have my 12 string. Then I have my acoustic guitar. But the reason why I got like those two different guitars because I didn't want to keep tuning my guitar down and because okay, that song is so low that if you were to take your regular gauge strings in your acoustic and drop them down to that low, the strings would be wobbling and scratching on the fretboard. And so these are like I'm talking about these are like piano wire strings. They're really tight, and then I can get the action just right where I can play all that. That's why when you hear that song Black Mountain Side, it has this real mysticism, like dum, dum, dum. That's the guitar and that one little thing, I forget what it's called, little drum thing to get that kind of low sound. So instead of me having to tune this guitar and it's like, hey, I don't want to play. Oh, I'll grab this. I want to play that. I'll grab it. I want to play the 12 string. I want to play. They're all right there because I don't want to have to keep going ding 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 ding
You
ding
you
ding dong.
forget you also know how to play that Embryonic Journey by Jefferson Airplane.
Not anymore. Remember that? Remember that was actually a very complicated song. But I did
Really?
used
It
to play.
was?
Yes, I did used to play that song. What was that? Mood for a Day.
Oh man, you sound good playing that. I like when you and I like when you play that other one, the clap.
I don't like that song. It's just too. It's just too much. It's like just when
Well,
does
it's
it
too.
end?
Don't say it's too country.
No, it's not too country. It's very happy go lucky and I'm free little grasshopper.
I like it. It makes me want to get on a horse.
He's acting up, but it's so hard though. But he does it so because he
Let me
wrote it.
ask you a quick question. Favorite guitar song that Yes does? And I'll tell you mine. You want me to go first?
Yeah, go first.
Starship Trooper.
Oh, that was a good one.
That is awesome song with guitar playing.
Was that the one that go ding 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 ding
Yep.
ding ding ding? Oh,
But
I'm gonna
that
have to go with my
beginning,
favorite. Yeah, that was that was the same thing as like with Led Zeppelin did ding dang chicka ding ding dang chicka ding ding, but they did it backwards. Ding 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 ding. But they did it for like 20, 30 seconds and there was not a change. I might have to go with Close to the Edge. I
oh
mean,
my goodness, you would go. Oh
Close to the Edge
man,
live. Close
have
to
you
the Edge
ever
live.
have you ever listened to Close to the Edge with headphones? The from the Close to the Edge album. There is a beginning that I did not realize where it sounds like I don't know. It sounds like something at night. Like
Sounds like a brook and water going
yes,
and
it's a beautiful beginning.
no, I wanted to learn the intro, so I was working on the intro one day and I started to learn it.
Right?
But then after a while, I said, "F this. This is getting to be."
You
No, was
did
that
you?
the? I was that put the part.
I know another song you played real good by Yes.
I was like, I got. Okay, no, I'm. I was like, I got that there. This part. I was like, okay, you know what? Screw you. I'm going somewhere else.
Does it get a little bit jazzy sometimes, Steve Howe? In your opinion?
Yeah, he does. He does. He has a very unique, kind of not rock. He has a very unique jazzy style, hillbilly style tone. Because you can hear them all the
Interesting.
time. We've got like these rock. He's not really a rock guitar player, even though he tries to pretend he is.
Right. Right.
Because you'll see him try to, but his style is very like what Randy Rhoads would have been at his time. But one thing I will say for people that weren't doing it at that time to come up with those kind of riffs and those kind of sounds was good. Don't get me wrong, McLaughlin was there and Carlos Santana and them were there. They were all there. That I think he just tried to do something completely. I'm going to show y'all something different, and it worked. We all bought
Yeah.
it. We still buy them today.
Yeah. We'll never. I mean, that is. I don't know how many times I bought Fragile, and I will still probably continue to buy Fragile. But I was going to say, um,
And I finally disowned "Don't Kill the Whale." I used to like it, but not anymore.
a lot of people don't like that tune anymore. I still like it. I like the guitar tone on that.
I
What I was going
did.
to tell you, what I was going to tell you is, I do remember you playing "And You and I." That's a
Oh,
good acoustic guitar song.
but you know what's interesting about "In You and I"? The part that stumbled me for so long,
What was that? What part was that?
the beginning. Ding, 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 ding. I was like,
Sounds
okay, I
like
got that. But then I was like, what is going on here? And so I was getting my 12 string. It's like, Chris, you're hearing, he's hitting the same, because the 12 string has a high notes and the low notes, right?
right, right.
So when you hear ding, 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 clang, clang, I was like, what is going on? Then I realized, Chris, he's hitting the first note. Let's just say I'm just making up. So let's say it's G. Ding on the and then you got the 12 string, got the 2 string, the treble G and the low G go. So you go ding ding, very slow with the pick. Ding ding,
Right.
ding ding. So it's like so instead of like going with this guitar, you're playing the 12 string slow. You go here. I got the 2 strings together. Ding ding. Instead of going cling as one unison. Ding ding, cling ding. Down.
Ah, okay.
He was hitting the 2 strings separate, even though they're so close together. Instead of going as they're hitting the whole string as one, like the 12 string is going ding ding, ding ding, ding ding. So you get what I mean? He's hitting those 2 strings that are running adjacent to each other as
Right.
individuals instead of hitting them as one like that. He's going ding ding with the
Man, I
pick,
don't,
ding ding, ding
you've always
ding.
had a you've always had a better ear than mine.
No,
Now I'm
dude.
gonna.
Remember, you know how many times that like the people don't realize that when me and you learned, there was no tablature, there was no music books that weren't that didn't have notes that we couldn't read at the time. And if you want to get better, you had to find someone that was better than you or somebody's older brother, or you had to do like I did, take the record, move the needle back and listen to it over and piece at a
Yeah.
time and piece at a time, and it made you want it more. See, what
Right.
happened to the children of today is they have their phones and their TVs and they never get bored. So the problem is kids need to get bored because they did this thing where they put these kids together and they got rid of all the electronics and they were all bored and frustrated. And about 20 minutes in, they started making their own games. They started making stuff out of nothing, playing around, and they were having fun. You know why? They needed to get bored. That's when they became creative.
That makes
instead of their
sense. Cause
mind being instead of their mind being stimulated every minute. Okay, I got to have something to stimulate my mind. Here, well, sit down, baby, and watch the TV. And here's my cell phone, and you can play a bit. No, 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 no. That's how me and you and Felicia, what we used to do, we'd get batteries and play with batteries or little wooden people or go out and make stuff. And when we got bored, we'd go out and we actually would go outside. These people don't even want to go outside anymore. They want to be inside.
you're right. You know what I was gonna tell you too. And I was trying to remember what song did I hear that said, you know what, I want to play. It was probably a Who song, but and like you said, in our time, I could never find another person that liked to play Who songs. Now they would show me Beatles and some Rolling Stones how to play them on a guitar, but for some reason back then it just there wasn't too many uh people that knew or wanted to play a Who song. I don't know why. I guess maybe to some folks, the
Because
Who was
who
not
has
their
got
thing.
that very hard rock, almost rockabilly if you think about it. Almost. But
Right.
one of my favorite things that I remember that by the Who was that guitar intro to Pinball Wizard. What
Man,
beautiful wizard playing. Who can't say that's not rock and roll?
that
Oh,
is
come on,
rock and roll.
get out of here, people! If you don't like that, you're not alive.
Here's a question from Zeb. Favorite Yes solo LP?
Favorite Yes Soul LP, and if
One
it's
is Chris Squire's Fish Out of Water. Do you like that? Have you heard that one?
no, I know I've heard that before. I know that they all had soul albums. I love Christopher Squire. Did you know Christopher Squire always had brand new strings every time he played live? They had to change them
That's what I
every show.
heard. And I heard he used to use a quarter as a pick. Is that true?
I'm not sure, but that's why the strings always sound so bright. They're not. They're just. And then that guy, the guy that I told you that's on the Marvin Gaye, and they got the hundred. He's on 100 number one hit Motown songs.
Yeah.
He never changed his strings and never wanted them to be changed. Isn't that crazy? Two different opposites, they're the same ones all the
Oh
time. Just
man,
leave them on there. Just leave
that's
them on there.
me. I still have the same guitar strings you put on how many years ago? I don't want to. I don't want to change them
No, no,
because
no, no. We're not talking about change strings. But you have the same guitar with the same strings that's still out of tune for how many years ago? Was that 10, 12 years ago?
I like having it out of tune. You know why? You know what it reminds me? I already told you that's my Neil Young guitar tuning when it's a little
No, I'm
bit out of
kidding you.
tune.
I'm kidding you. No, I'm joking.
You know what people what was that guy's name that's on that talk show? The one that Jimmy Fallon. Do you know that he got down or he learned how that Neil Young guitar tuning? You ever see that episode where he's trying to act like Neil Young with his head down, and the real Neil Young steps on stage and plays alongside him? That was
Did you see SNL? Uh, Don't Fear the Reaper.
oh yeah, where they were
That was,
doing that more cowbell.
and you know what? We never noticed that until after that. It's like there's a bunch of cowbell. We never noticed. It's like
You
cowbell. I never noticed it.
you know when I first heard that song, "Don't Fear the Reaper," I thought it was two different songs. I didn't know it was the same song. You know what
It
part
was
I'm talking about? You know
yeah.
that part goes. I thought that was a different song. I thought, oh, "Don't Fear the Reaper," excuse me, is over. That other part's another song. No, it's the same song.
I know
It
because it
was.
comes back in it.
What do you think about the guitar playing in that song?
I thought it's trying to steal off from Yes.
You did?
Yeah,
Which one? Which song by
like
Yes
close
you
to the
thought they were
edge when
trying
it
to?
goes. And like close to the edge. What is that? I mean, this is same idea, same idea, same idea. It's just like, yeah, I heard that before.
Could
That's
you
why
see
we like.
a band nowadays trying to do their version or cover the song "Close to the Edge"?
I don't see how.
Yeah, I could never imagine a band doing that. I mean, what do I know? I mean, next thing you know, you'll see one of these prog bands doing a cover version of "Close to the Edge." But as far as Yes solo album, my all time favorite is Rick Wakeman's "The Wives of Henry VIII." I love that album. That is so good. That's
Do
a
you know
good.
what Close to the Edge live when I watched that 70s one? Did you know? You know that's part that da 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 do do do
Yeah,
do 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 do. Do you know that they don't sing that part?
really?
No, because you know what a sample is, right?
Right.
So back then on the keyboard, he just has a sample. Like I'm sure he probably took with the one where they really sung it. So on the keyboard, Rick made and they don't move them out. He has a sample on there, so that way they don't screw it up and get it all out of tune, and I'm not in
I used
unison.
to think it was. I used to think that dang, John
No, that
Anderson
was really them. That was really them on the album, but they used the sample in the concert,
when
so
they
Rick
did it
Wakeman could
live.
just hit it. Yeah, so they don't have to, you know what I mean? Like if you watch that movie, like from the Queen, whatever was that one? I don't know what it's called. What is that one?
By Queen,
That famous one. Do 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 do
Bohemian
do do
Rhapsody.
do. Yeah, but you know how in the beginning of that concert it shows a video of them singing, like on the big
Yes.
screen, but
Right.
not them,
Right.
because they know they can't pull that off at the same time, and then they come out.
Yeah, that's true. In fact, if you listen to, remember that live Queen album that we like, Killers Live, Queen
Yeah, yeah,
Killers Live. Yeah, I saw that them doing that song and what they do during that part with that, where they do the operatic type thing. They
yeah.
walk off stage and let their audio play, and then they come back to that part where it starts to rock out towards the end.
You remember that song by Triumph called "Lay It on the Line"?
Oh, I love that song. It's one of the best guitar
They never
songs.
played that in concert ever because he said I can't hit those notes, so we never played it.
You know
So that
what
was
I
one of,
did? I find
yeah,
that hard to
they
believe.
couldn't.
You know why? Because I saw Triumph do one of those songs. What was it? That
It's
song
just a game. You probably saw just a game.
the no, I saw Rick Emmett and Triumph do live from the US Festival that song, which is really high, the vocal, Magic Power, and he sounded freaking good live. Remember that song? I got the Magic Power.
Yeah, then they got really weird when they were trying to survive in the late 90s.
What do you mean? What did it get weird?
They just started trying to. You remember remember when all these guitar players came out and they were like taking the music to another level, which ended up coming back in a crash landing ship where people were like sick of it. Nobody wanted to hear a guitar solo anymore. We don't care.
Right.
You know, everybody jumped on that train. Oh, we're gonna be a fast guitar player, and then it just kind of like
Yeah. I know
And
what you're
everybody
talking
got,
about.
we got all sick of, we like, hey, did you hear this guitar player? And I told someone, I don't want to go see the concert. I don't want to hear another Eric Johnson. I can't take any more endless guitar solos. And look how I'm sick of it. I want to just, and then after that, I changed, just want to hear music, went back, oh, these are good guitar songs. I'm so sick of, look at this. I said, all I see is a bunch of insecure people trying to be accepted by people by showing them how good they are on one thing. I can't handle anymore. I'm it's too. I'm tired of being self-indulged. I'm done. I quit. I don't want to
I
do
hear
that.
you.
Yuck.
So before we go to, hey, what's up, Craig? AZ Music Haven. Before we go, is there any final things you want to say? And then we'll try to do this again next month on a
Yeah.
Sunday.
I want to say
I
thank
tell you
you
what we're
for
gonna do the next time. We're gonna
what's
go
that?
through the. We got to go through the Yes records one by
Oh, we
one.
should. We should go through more.
So you better go freshen up on some of those records. We're not gonna go through every one of them, but we're gonna go through the essential ones. You know, even we're even gonna talk about Tales from the Topographic Ocean. I love the record. I remember talking.
No, is that
You
the
don't
30
like
minute song on there?
You don't like that? Oh my goodness, that's
No,
a
I'm joking. I'm joking. I'm joking. Is that one with what's like underwater, but the fish are like out of the water, moving around
yeah.
too?
They look like they're going swimming around Stonehenge or something.
Did you know that me and you, when we were living in Austin, Texas, over there in Golden Quill, did you know that the Butthole Surfers, the band, they were only about 2 miles away from us?
No, I didn't know
They
that.
lived right over there on I want to say it was either Palmer or Yeager Lane. They were right there.
Really? I didn't
Yeah, they were
know
right there
that.
by the Coxville Zoo, that old zoo.
Yeah, I know that
They
old
lived
zoo.
right back in there because my
Did you
friend
meet
Marcus,
those guys?
no, Marcus Hernandez, who was my friend, later told me that they were his next door neighbor.
The
They're from
Butthole
Austin, Texas.
Surfers.
Yeah, they were from Austin, Texas.
Oh my goodness.
And I was
That
like,
but
you
I
mean
didn't
to
know
tell me
that.
we were all living right next to each other the whole time?
The famous Butthole Surfers. I love those guys, man.
Yeah, they're
That's
from
good
Austin
stuff.
because if you watch some of their videos, they're at that old place in South Austin where they're playing putt putt with like the dinosaur and all
Peter
those,
Pan.
with that
Peter
little
Pan
aqua.
Golf.
Yeah, and then they're over there at Coxville Zoo when it's all got the cages and it's already closed down. He's like, yeah, we used to go over there and drink and have fun. Yeah, they were my neighbors. I was like, so Marcus Hernandez, so they like live on that road right down from the Coxville Zoo, going on Jaeger, and then we were right there around on Kramer to McMoore to Golden. We were with that's why the whole thing says it's called Texas barbecue. Watch the video, watch it alone, and because you're gonna be like, you're not gonna believe what you're about to see. But they go through all those places, and you're gonna see because it's kind of, they do kind of weird stuff. But the song is that's a
You like the
good video
Butthole
to watch.
Surfers?
I like that one. Down, 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 down. Why don't you make it? That's their song. I don't really like them, but I remember that one song. You know what
I,
I'm
I,
talking
I
about?
yeah, I remember when I used to see their album covers. I didn't know what kind of music it was. It wasn't until later, till Eliana started listening to stuff like that, and I was like,
Go
"Oh,
look at
that's
the Butthole Surface Texas barbecue video today, and you're gonna see all those places that me and you talked about. That, and you're gonna say, "Oh, that's the zoo. That's that," and then you're gonna go,
I remember the
"Oh my
zoo. Yeah,
goodness."
it's an old zoo. I didn't know that we were in the same neighborhood as the Butthole Surfers. Can you imagine us hanging out with them? I would
We could
definitely.
we could have walked over there.
We could have walked over there and hung out with them. That is awesome. Did you know
I
that
know. I'm trying to say, we were living right there by them the whole time.
that Millie was telling me that her mom and dad used to hang out and party out with Stevie Ray Vaughan and the guys from Double Trouble and Jimmy Vaughan.
I
They lived
met
in
Jimmy
some.
Vaughn. I talked to Jimmy Vaughn one time.
He's good. I like Jimmy Vaughan. I like what he does.
What was that, Fabulous Thunderbird? Ain't that tough enough or something?
I was in that video. I We had tickets to be part of the making of that video. And oh no, it was for the song "How Do You Spell Love," and we were there almost a whole day as they were filming, and they played a concert for us, like 6 or 8 songs. They were
Yeah.
good. The Fabulous Thunderbirds, really, and that guy sounded really good on the vocal. I like the way he sang. But yeah, and I saw Jimmy Vaughn playing guitar. Oh my goodness, he's good. He might not be like his brother, which I don't think he could do the same thing, but he's just as good too. He just does a different thing with the Fabulous Thunderbirds,
You
which
know,
I
and
wish
you're
they were
right.
still around.
No, I remember talking to this guy when I was working at Austin Outdoor Power Corp. I remember talking to this guy, and I was like, "Hey, man, you like Jimi Hendrix?" He goes, "Oh, Stevie Ray Vaughan is way better than Jimi Hendrix." I said, "You know what? There wouldn't have been a Stevie Ray Vaughan had Jimi Hendrix not played first. He just shut it up right then and
Right?
there because that's who he
Right?
sounds like." I said, "There wouldn't have been a Stevie Ray Vaughan if it wasn't for Jimi Hendrix. Nothing came out of his mouth again."
Let me say that. Let me going back.
Do you agree, though?
Oh yeah, I totally agree with that. Um, do you remember this record store? It was fun to look at recycle records.
Oh yeah.
Remember, you know what I liked about that record store is that you could find like physical graffiti, right?
Where
You could
was
find
Recycled Records again? Where was it?
yeah,
I remember.
it was over there on Guadalupe, down the street from the Half Price. Remember Guadalupe, down from the old tamale house and
Oh,
uh,
where they used to be.
that
Oh,
tuxedo
okay.
place that mom took us to.
Wasn't there a fish aquarium place there?
Somewhere around there, yeah. You know what I'm
Okay.
talking about, right?
Did you ever go to the drag, like the UT campus, and where all those places had nothing but albums for sale all the time? You use albums?
Oh, yeah, yeah. You mean like what was it called? Sound
Like you,
Exchange?
like you could be walking on the floor and they're like wood floors, going up to the next thing. It's like an old house converted, just albums all over the
Oh,
place.
I know what you're talking about. That's where I got those Beetle imports. Remember one day I said, "Hey, Chris, look, I scored not imports. I found three Beetle rarity bootleg albums. Remember? It was from that house. I know what you're talking. I don't know what the name of the place is, but you walked in, and one of the rooms was a bookstore. Another room was something else. The records were in the back, and you went all the way in the back, and it was wood floors. I mean, they had like the rarest records. It was like how you say a honey hole. And I would
Half
go in
Price
there and
Bookstore, they're a ripoff now. Remember they overpriced everything.
back in the day, Half Price Bookstore wasn't like that. Remember we bought our first copy of Goat's Head Soup at Half Price Bookstore for $5? And
Yeah,
we were like,
and
"What is
now
that
they're like,
album cover?" You got freaked out by that album cover?
well,
But
back
we
then they
wanted to
just
hear the
sold them.
song Angie. Remember we wanted to learn how to play the song Angie?
That's a good song.
Yeah.
Mommy
All
said,
right,
but those
folks.
albums, those
Go ahead.
albums were good, but now they want to sell it as though you know. It's like I don't want to. I don't. Because you talked about earlier how all these albums are coming out and they're cheaper now. They used to be real expensive. Well, you know why? Is that those people, the supply and demand, those people were having these albums. They knew they were rare and they saw the price go up and they're like, okay, let's dump ours. But when you dumped yours, you had another 2,000 people with the same album. You all dumped at the same time. And that's why the albums don't cost so much because you got a little too greedy and waited too long. And so by the time you did it, everybody else is thinking the same as you and the price got high. And then now it's like, I don't get $400. You're only willing to give me 30. You waited too long.
Yeah,
You played the market and you lost.
that's true. I used to not like when I went to the record convention, and those booths where there's always those booths where people don't price anything,
I
and you
hate
ask
them.
them, and they go get that book to go, and I'm like, you're gonna try to sell me that record for the highest value? That's not. You can keep that Queen album because it's not worth that.
Well,
But
Jim Minton, he
Jim
taught me
Mint,
a lot.
what is that?
Jim
Why does that name
Minton
sound familiar?
from the church. It was Brittany's grandfather, Jim.
Oh, okay, Jim.
So Jim Minton, he was a picker and very rich and very smart. He one time he used to go to garage shows all the time and we'd find stuff. He's the one that gave me that poster of that guitar, that one that
Oh
has
yeah, that real nice poster.
that's the original 1980 original, no
Don't
PLU, none
get
of
rid
that.
of that unless you're gonna
I'm
send
not
it to
going to.
me.
Of course, it's already framed. And if you try to buy it today, they'll send it to you, but it'll be laminated. They will not sell you one that's not laminated, so you can't say you have an original. So all the new ones are laminated purposely. You're not going to get it like that without the lamination. That way you can't say, oh, I got one of those. So I was watching these people and they were online and they're buying Dukes of Hazard, lunch boxes in the middle, like, oh, this is going for 40 and this and that. I said, hey, why don't we buy those lunch boxes? And Jim says, no. I said, why? This says they're selling for 40. He goes, yeah, but if you go to eBay, you need to find out what they actually sold for. Just because they're selling for 40 doesn't mean it's worth 40. So I went back and looked. It's like, oh, they've only been selling for $20. Just because
Oh, okay.
just because the seller is saying he wants 40 doesn't mean that it's worth 40. Look, and it'll tell you how much they sold for. Then you'll find the real price. I was like, Jim, that is smart. All right, well, these are going for $100. Well, let me look. Well, they've only been selling for $65. The last few ones. I'll give you 65. You get it now?
Yeah.
So why would I want to buy this lunch box for $10 when they're only
Right.
selling for 14, and you're going to try to sell it for 40? Why am I going to? I mean, so what profit would I have if I buy it for 10 to make 4? It's not even worth my time. But
Right.
it's a nice lunch box, though. I would like to have the Dukes of Hazard. I won't lie.
Oh, is that the one you're looking for?
No, I just think they're cool lunchbox, the old metal ones.
Yeah. I was trying to think.
But our mama, she had so much money that she got us a disposable lunch boxes. Remember those?
Yeah. I had a really
They
cool
were
one.
called paper bags.
All right. Okay, you got me there. I was thinking about the lunchbox.
we
I,
couldn't get we just wanted one that had like Scooby Doo or something. No, we had, you want Scooby Doo? Here, I'm going to draw Scooby Doo and you take your paper bag with you. Okay, thank you,
right. Put a
mama.
sticker on that bag. All right, bro. We've been on for about 2 hours.
All right, man. I was
Any
going to say,
final words? I'm gonna go ahead and close the
not
stream
what to tell.
down.
All my
But
friends, thank you. People at
thanks for
High
being here,
Growth,
bro.
amazing staff, and all my subscribers, thank you so much for coming on. And
You
Edward, thank
wait a
you.
minute. You still have your channel, right?
Oh yeah,
Socialnator?
yeah. SOSAN, the number 8R.
There you go, folks. Go sub them up. That's my bro next to me. We'll be going down memory lane again next month. I'll set up another one and we'll stream live. This time we probably won't go too. The only reason why we went this long is because I was just starting to like go down memory lane with you and start to remember all the stuff that uh,
We could talk. We just know so much. We've seen so much. We've been through
yeah,
the good, the bad, and the ugly.
yeah,
High
we
times,
have.
low times, good times, bad times. I mean,
We
we've
went
been
through
there.
recession times.
I mean, there was a
That's
time,
the
and this is
truth. We
true.
did.
No, this is people don't realize. I tell people that when I was growing up at home, I never had a steak unless I was at my grandpa's house. Never had a steak at home, and
That's
it
true.
wasn't often that we had seconds. I mean, what you had, and you
That
better
was
eat
it.
it all.
You know what I was thinking? You remember those times when we had that big tuna fish sandwich with chips and a big glass of milk, and that was it. We didn't think about seconds. That wasn't until later when I became a much chubby man.
No, then one day I'm going to this school because mom had sent me to a better part of the town, which I'm grateful for, and all of us. Yeah, we're having steak and potatoes. What's that?
Oh yeah, right.
Steak and
We
potatoes?
thought steak was meatloaf sometimes. That's the truth.
Is that thing with the can that got a little key? You untwist it. That. Oh, that's not it, huh? Oh, okay.
All right, folks. Thanks for being here, AZ Mick.
But you want to hear
Everyone.
something though? Even though they had better food than us, we were always bigger than them. We weren't even getting that much food.
That's true.
All right,
Well,
man.
bro, thanks for
God
being
bless you.
here.
Take care. No, thank
Take
you
care,
so much.
everybody. We'll see you next month. We'll set another date and
Bye.
time. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye. Bye. Bye.